Hello, hello, welcome. We're so excited for you to join our presentation. It is going to be myself, Joelle and Costa, and my beautiful co-facilitator, Jamie, who's going to get our screen shared now. So welcome to Using Emergent Literacy to Support Instructional Support. Today, what we'll be going through, and then our next slide is just going to be our beautiful pictures of Jamie and I. And Jamie, I think I have good news. I think I can control the slides. It gave me the access, so that's exciting. This is one of our first times working in this format, so be gentle with us as we learn and facilitate with you today. So you got to hear from our beautiful, wonderful Tiffany Taylor-Jones this morning, who gave us the most beautiful inspirational words, kind of rooting us in the why of our work. We will be kind of tacking on to what she was discussing, giving you a little more information about what it is we do and how our emergent literacy micro-credentials really pair well with the class assessment and your instructional support portion of that. Let's see, I'm trying. Perfect. Oh, back one. Okay, so you did hear Tiffany discuss who we are at the Lastinger Center. We really aim to improve the quality of teaching, learning, and childcare, even though I really don't like that word, because we do so much more than care for the children that we are entrusted with. We really are setting those foundations for their lifelong success. And as you'll quickly learn from what you heard from Tiffany and what you'll hear from Jamie and myself today, we like to focus on you, the adults, the learners coming in that are really enriching those lives. I remember the first time I shifted from teaching in the classroom with early childhood, because like Tiffany, I was there as well. Jamie was in an early childhood classroom for a big chunk of her career. It was hard to transition to adults and really feel like you're making an impact. But now you'll see that we love what we do, and we realize how vital our role is, how vital your role is, because with the information and the research-based practices that we develop and share with our educators, we really are impacting that many more lives and that many more children in the state of Florida and beyond. So it's a little more about who we are. To give you just a look at what you're going to be talking about with us today and how we will flow, because I like to know what I'm going to hear about. We are doing our opening moves now, just kind of giving you our introductions, who we are, why we are here, why we do what we do. We're going to do a little bit of an inquiry, a little bit of an activity, just to kind of hopefully play a little game, jog your memory or your thoughts a little bit, and get us a little more awake. Like Tiffany said, we started very early in the morning, and we do appreciate you being here and try to make this as interactive as possible. Then we, our beautiful Jamie is going to be looking at emergent literacy, what it is, what we do, what our program consists of. And then she's going to kind of take out that magnifying glass and look at that through the class lens and how it really applies to all of you in your classrooms. Then we're going to close out and send you off into your weekend, hopefully enjoying your time that you have to yourself, hopefully. So to get us started, and you can feel free to share this in the chat, or it can just be a silent reflection. It's up to you. Why does emergent literacy matter? Why does what we do and how we start those building blocks of just recognition of text, the recognition of letters, sounds, being able to identify a picture, why does that all matter? And those of you that ever facilitate, those pauses are hard. But I hope that you're just calling to mind why it matters to you and why it matters to those children in your classrooms. So here is our communication challenge. Now here, Jamie put together some wonderful questions to kind of just, like I said, get us going. What we're going to do, you're going to have 4 options in the chat. It is going to be A, B, C, or D, pretty simple. I see that somebody has their hand raised. I'm not sure if we can address, or if you can type that. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat, and Jamie or one of our wonderful ELC assistants in our session here will be able to answer that for you. It's very hard when I see hands raised and I can't answer the raised hands. So again, we're going to go through some questions. Just put A, B, C, or D in the chat. It is not going to be graded. Nobody will know your answers. This is just something fun for us to be thinking about. So if you can read this statement, who should you thank? Are we thinking a teacher, the Greeks, the Phoenicians, or good old reading rainbow? So I'm going to give you a moment to just kind of populate your responses. Who should we thank if we can read this? We're just going to type an A, B, C, or D into the chat. So if you were like me, I definitely chose A. I thought it was Miss Laverty, my kindergarten teacher. Clearly, she is why I can read. I was wrong. It is not. It is the Phoenicians. In 15,000 BC, the Phoenicians, who traded pretty globally and with a lot of different civilizations, created their first alphabet, which consisted of 22 letters. And like I said, it was out of necessity. They were meeting and trading with a lot of different cultures, and they had to come up with a common language, a common way to communicate. So that's where we got letters. And that's why it wasn't your kindergarten teacher. I thought it was my kindergarten teacher too. Next, when were vowels added to the alphabet? Was it in 1912, 1750, 15,000 BC, or 1776? Now this one, I never thought of. I figured the vowels and everybody just came in at the same time, but we learn new things from our work partners, and Jamie teaches me so much. So again, if you can, we're going to type A, B, C, or D in the chat as your response. I see Lazara. Thank you, Eva. We have some participants. Yay, there they are.
I know they're now.
It took some time, but I knew it was coming. I had faith.
I had to activate the chat. We got it.
Yeah, sorry about
They're
that.
like, we want to play. We know the answers.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we activated the chat. We're sorry about that.
Perfect. It's fine. Okay, so vowels were actually added into the alphabet in 1750 by the Greeks. They had those Phoenician, that Phoenician alphabet, which I don't know if you all, but as soon as Jamie taught me this, I was like, oh, Phoenicians, phonetics, it's making so much sense to me now, all the connections. So yeah, the Greeks added it, and the Greeks added it because much like today, things have to adapt and change to the need of a society, and the Greeks realized that there was sounds in their language that didn't exist in the Phoenician alphabet. So they made it more applicable to them, and a system that actually worked well for other languages as well, because those sounds weren't identified with the Phoenician alphabet either. Don't worry, we're almost done with our quizzing and you all are doing fabulous. This brings us to right now. Now let's think about this. Many of us are guilty and spend a lot of time on social media. Others have children who are on social media. Some of us have parents on social media, and that's a little scary when they get on. But how many minutes a day do you think people globally spend on social media? Are we spending 60 minutes, 240, 116, or 180? I agree, Gail, too much. Too many minutes, me personally too. I'm trying to lessen that. But I see some answers in there. I also see some connecting. We're noticing our friends' names in there. I love that. Okay, I see a lot of B's and D's. All right, so the answer is we globally spend 151 minutes a day, over 2 hours on social media. And the research that Jamie found shows that in the first half of 2023, it's already jumped to over 2 hours. So we are spending a lot of time connecting with others on social media, which ties us to this next question. And I thought about the Greeks because I'm smart now with all the things that Jamie taught me, but I thought about the Greeks in that they had to adapt and change language to make it work for them. We're doing that in 2023 still. And I skipped around, but we're thinking of how many languages are spoken globally right now. So we know that we're spending a lot of time communicating with people globally. How many languages are the people out there speaking? Is it 6,500, 4,000, 1,000, or 500? Again, we're going to put A, B, C, D in that chat. How many languages are spoken globally? Right. If you chose A, you are correct. There are over 6,500 languages spoken globally. So when we're on that social media, the social media is running a lot of different languages, connecting people from cultures everywhere. And as you see, if we go to just us here in the Americas, especially if you live in South Florida, we know most people are fluent in English, Spanish, and Spanglish. So just here in the Americas, we are speaking close to 1,000 languages, which is mind-blowing to me. And this is what I skipped ahead to. We talked about the Greeks and them adapting language. How many of us use emojis in our everyday life? I sometimes don't even respond with words anymore. It'll just be, you know, the screaming face if I'm having a bad day, or the crying face if it's something really stressful. So when did those come into play? When did emojis become part of our society and the way we communicate? Was that in 2009, 2005, 2002, or 1999? When do you think these emojis came into play? A lot of these answers coming in. It was in 1999, before, you know, in the Prince song, we were still partying like it was 1999, and emojis were invented by a Japanese artist. And they created the first set of 176. We know we have much more now. Jamie had this fact, but I learned on TikTok University, that I know many of us engage in on our social media time, that the keyboard that we have now on our phones actually was invented by a Latina computer programmer. So she brought us so many more. We've made our mark, ladies, those of you who are Latina and female in this group here in our webinar. The ones that are used today are that keyboard was created by a Latina computer programmer. And that is the end of our communication challenge. I hope that it was fun, gave you some more facts about literacy and communication and language and why it is important and plays an important role. Now, Ms. Jamie Harmon will explain to us what is the Flamingo Emergent Literacy Microcredential and how is it going to help support your instructional support domain in your classroom.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back to that first inquiry, since you guys didn't get a chance to add your answers about, you know, what is it that emergent literacy means to you? Why does it matter? Because that's going to feed into what we're going to talk about. So I am going to leave a minute for you guys to add that in. We know we had a great start. Tiffany added all kinds of things we get to do with that. So How is it showing up for you today? Don't let me down now. You got the chat going. There's my friend, Miss Gail. Hi, Miss Gail. I miss you. Lays the foundation for future reading success. It matters for reading skills. Absolutely. Yeah. Think about it. Everything leads back to emergent literacy. When you have to listen to a conversation, when you have to understand how to pay your bills, all of those things you have to do, it all comes back to emergent literacy. And it's not even necessarily just about literacy skills, it's for other things. Because think about our other content areas. They all require reading, they all require writing and things to do. So it's really this cornerstone foundation, all of those things about us being able to text and do the things we want on social media. We have to have emergent literacy, especially that listening, so you can get all your info from TikTok University with Joellen. So, but before we get into really what is that, the micro credential, let's look at what are we implementing for emergent literacy in our classroom. And as Tiffany mentioned earlier, we have 4 key areas. The first one is one of my favorites. It's that oral language. So this is where we're talking about those vocabulary skills, listening skills, reading, shared readings, child-friendly definitions. There's a whole lot going on in that oral language, and it tends to really be overlooked a lot because they are soaking up everything. Every conversation that you have with a child is an opportunity to model that language. Yep, listening. We really definitely need to focus on that listening. And the one thing that I really like to think about with oral language is the pyramid of words. I don't know if you've ever heard this. This was something that was really mind-blowing when I found this out, was that we have 3 tiers of words that our kids know. Tier 1 words are everyday words. These are words we really don't have to teach our kids because they have them through experiences. So they know what the sky is because they've been outside and been able to see it. They know what a pet is because they have one. They know what the fish is because they've been to the aquarium or the beach or the pond. So what other words do you think would be tier 1 words that we don't really have to teach our kids and define for them because they've had the experience to know what they are? They're naturally having them because they're alive. Yes and no, yeah. Especially in those terrific 2 eras when they're figuring out those boundaries. Yep, cook, love it. Table, food, mom. Yeah, a whole bunch of different types of family words based on theirs. And I don't want it. Mine, yeah, the car. Simple emotions, happy, sad. Absolutely. So tier 1 words are the ones we do need to know because as we're going through picking our words, we know that those are not necessarily ones we have to highlight. Bringing them up into conversation, helping them connect is important. And also knowing your kids, because some words are going to be more tier 1 words for some places than they are going to be for other places. Like I grew up north, so snow was definitely a tier 1 word for us. Snow was there. But down here, snow is kind of probably a little higher in this hierarchy we're going to look through because sun and sand is around here. So next we have tier 2 words. Think of these as they don't really have a home. They're general academic words. They don't fit into a content necessarily. They're not specific to lessons, but they're words that we love to say to our kids, like respectful, leadership, sharing, cooperation. So these words don't necessarily have a place. You're not necessarily going to be teaching them in your science lessons, but they're words that our kids aren't quite familiar with, but are hearing and being exposed to. And then you have tier 3 words. These are those content specific words. So thinking about skeleton, vertebrate, herbivore, carnivore. Yep, prediction. Prediction we know would come up as we're doing our stories. And so where do you think we want to focus our time teaching? I already kind of gave you a clue. I took tier 1 out of it because they've got that experience on their own. So where do you think we want to spend our time teaching? Tier 2 or tier 3? Let's see, we got 3s coming in. 3 definitely is something you want to hit, and you are going to hit it naturally because they're coming up in your lessons. But I see Miss Eva, give yourself a kiss on the brain. You want to focus on those tier 2 words, those words that aren't coming up in other places that you want your kids to know about. So think about when you're looking through those books, words like stumbled, got inspired, hoped. Think about now more complex emotions. Those are the words we want to focus on and highlight, especially that come up in a book, because they're actually getting to see that context, that experience of it. Sometimes when we aren't able to give that experience, like snow, we can't just make it snow here in Florida, as sometimes we want it to. But we can have the book about snow. And so they can have a visual, they can get some really great word imagery going about what that is. So oral language, the words you are picking and focusing on matter. And always remember that when it comes to words you're not sure your kids know, please define them for them first, because they're always going to grab onto that first thing that's said to them. And so 1 year in my 4-year-old class, I said, who knows what a carnivore is? A little boy, he was so excited. He said, I know what it is. That is when you go to the carnival and all the animals eat you. And so that came up all year long about the carnivore. So always, when in doubt, define it for them. So we are having all kinds of conversations. We are making sure we are including other types of words. So now let's look at our next piece, alphabet knowledge and print awareness. And notice we're not really doing sound work here. Phonological awareness lives in a different space. We're going to get to that next. Here in emergent literacy, think about it as a highway. We've got 4 different lanes going. Everybody needs to stay in their lane. So oral language is here, alphabet is here, print is here, phonological awareness, and we got some early writing, because they have to understand what these pieces are and their little nuances before they can officially merge and come together in traditional reading, teaching, traditional phonics. So those things come later down the road. So sometimes it can be very confusing, but just remember right now, everything kind of has its own lane. So if we're thinking alphabet, I'm thinking it's just about those letters. How do the letters show up in my books? So what are those print awareness and concepts we need to teach them? What is it about those letters? Letters are uber confusing, super confusing. Sometimes they look the same, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they say their sounds, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have multiple sounds. So they really need their own thing. And so a lot of times we hear about what is the best way to teach letters? Is there a specific order? And I am here to tell you today, there is no one right way. It is going to depend on you. But let's have a little fun. We're going to come back into it. So we're going to play a little bit of top 5. What letters do you think are the most frequent letters that show up in our words? What letters do you think are the most frequent letters we see? I see T, S, A, M, T, G, S, and P, the vowels. M, B, S, I see C, D, there's a P, T. All right. So let's see what our top 5 most frequent letters are. Number 5 is the letter N. Oop, I think I just saw it come up there. Yeah, but N is our 5th most frequent letter. Number 4 is the letter O. So there's those vowels. I saw those vowels coming in. 3 is the letter A. Another vowel. 2 is the letter T. I saw a lot of T's in there. And number 1 is the letter E. You know, I saw M's and B's and S's all over those places, and those didn't even make it into the top 5. Somebody's also got to call Wheel of Fortune, because those letters are definitely different. But when you come to letters, I never taught letters the same way, because it was always what names are coming in my classroom, because names are a great way to engage your kids in letters, because their names are their most thing that's important to them, that identity, people seeing who they are. So I graphed out my names, how many letters, what letters were showing up in my classroom. And that's how I chose to teach them every year. So thinking about that letter frequency, what's going to be most important to your kids, to make sure they know those letters and those names. So that's always where we would like to start. And then we get to phonological awareness, all about the sounds. Remember, this is all about the sounds. So this is them hearing that musical quality of language, the rhythm of it. So that means we're looking at a lot of finger plays, rhymes, songs, especially in the infant and toddler classrooms, because that's how they're getting that modeling of how language flows. And just because we're doing sounds doesn't mean we can't use visuals and pictures. We really encourage you to use your body movements, to use visuals and pictures, because teaching kids about sounds is hard. It's not something they can touch and feel. So we have to make it something they can see and touch and bring it alive. And so it's actually really important in their brains to have some visuals, because if I'm thinking about brain science and how our brain grows, the human brain processes visual content, so that's pictures, 60,000 times faster than text, than letters. That's a really big difference, right? So having the visual there helps them process. We remember 65% of what we see as compared to 10% of what we hear. Well, we really want to make sure we remember everything they hear. So we got to help that little 10% by adding some visuals and bumping that up. Because remember, once we teach them rhyming, we can't just forget about it. We have to come back and keep that spiral review up. Visual aids improve understanding by 400%. If you have children who are struggling and you've tried body movements, you've tried songs, but you haven't yet put a picture out there, put a picture out there. It takes the human brain 13 milliseconds, so less than seconds, to process an image. It's going to make your kids feel more confident having that visual to help them process tougher things like phonological awareness. Yes, and absolutely have words in English and Spanish for your alphabet. But remember, phonological awareness, we're just going to say those things because we want to keep the print separate at that point. Images are actually processed in the back of your brain. That is actually where our long-term memory is stored. So when we view pictures, they are immediately going into our long-term memory, and they actually are permanently etched in our brains. So that means they are impossible to forget. So when you want something to stick, along with the happiness that makes our brain sticky, add some visuals in. Our words are processed in the front of our brain. So we process visuals and images, text in separate places in our brain. And the words go in short-term memory, and we can only remember 7 pieces of what we remember. That's actually why phone numbers are 7 digits, because you can short-term remember 7 things at a time. So visuals really help all the things that we're doing. And that means that what we're doing with phonological awareness really affects everything else. Helping to bring those things to life means they're getting better. They're going to be stronger readers because they're able to process it faster. They're able to make sure they remember it. And lastly, our last part, reading and writing. So this is really where we want to be aware of your dual language learners, people who are learning multiple languages at the time. A great place to engage with your families and think about it as a whole language experience. We are not just using our language at one part of the day, right? It's just time to do letters for these 10 minutes, and it's just time to read the story for this 5 minutes. We are using language all day long by talking, by listening, by reading, by writing, by seeing, by drawing. So we want to make sure language is very present in everything that we do. And remember, there are stages to our emergent writing. We are not going to be writing novels, right? We're not looking for those kids to write novels. We're not looking for them to be writing paragraphs or even sentences in straight lines. We start by drawing and scribbling, just understanding that what I'm putting down has meaning, that I'm drawing you a story of some sort. It's putting something out there in the world. And then that transforms into straight letter-like formation. So I start to understand how writing is supposed to look and what the shapes are generally like. So I make the lines and I make the circles, and then I start to even put some letters in. I can see how letters are shaped. And then that moves into invented spelling. This is kid spelling. This is kid writing. I'm writing how I feel it might sound, which means it's not going to be spelled right. And it should not be on lines. It should be as big or as little as they want. Yes, creating writing. There are so many fun ways to create writing experiences. So those 4 pieces are what we really cover in the Flamingo Literacy Micro Credential. I'm sure some of you, I feel like I've seen these names. So I feel like some of you have joined us, and we go definitely a lot deeper into those. And why is it important to have that micro credential knowledge of emergent literacy right now? Well, class, everybody's favorite word right now, class, because emergent literacy very much lines up with this instructional support category. It also hits other as well. But if I look at creating a positive environment in a community, one big piece of that is having conversations with the kids, just social conversations about their day and about their lives outside of the classroom. And having those conversations typically lead to getting to go into conversations about the world, about going into teaching concepts. So having that positive environment, which makes them happy. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you are happy, your brain releases those happy endorphins. And when you are happy, it actually makes your brain stickier. And so things are actually stick in your brain. You learn better when you are happy. Yep, I love that, Liliana. Quality of interactions. So you're looking at relationships in your positive climate, positive communications, respect, student comfort, just like Tiffany talked about that teacher sensitivity. It doesn't just live in it, that instructional support, it goes all through. Conversations is another big piece. Look how many things that hits. When you're having conversations with your kids, you're improving relationships, that student expression of them having voice in your classroom. You're able to have really effective facilitation when you're teaching because they're getting to go deeper, you're getting to take them more. They can analysis and reasoning. That means they're comparing and contrasting, they're experimenting, they're trying things out. Feedback loops, there is a consistent back and forth. you're continually following up with them. And then of course, having frequent conversations. Tactile activities, hands-on. I was always taught the more you can get it in their bodies, the more you can get it in their brains, the better it is. So just because we are using something with words does not mean it has to be strictly a visual thing. Make it something they can touch and see and feel and do. Yes, Leonore, the interrelatedness of language. And tactile means you are all in that instructional learning formats, making things that are engaging for kids that keep their attention, which means they're learning more. Open-ended questions. That is the hot button word, right? How many of you have heard open-ended questions? How many times have you heard it in like the last 2 years? Probably a lot. Well, look at all of the ways that open-ended questions shows up. Yep, I get you, Marissa. How many ways does open-ended questions show up? Open-ended questions are so important because it's not about having a right answer and repeating a fact. It's about them being able to apply what they know and be able to pick the right learning. So that means it's coming in that quality of feedback as they're thinking and analyzing what they're learning and what they should do. It comes in them being able to continually answer you. So you're creating those loops again. It's prompting their thoughts to continue them to think. So it's not that they now know the shape. It's now they're understanding why it's the triangle versus the square. And what is the difference between a square and a triangle versus a circle with the types of line? Yep, application of those thinking routines. And there's even a whole open-ended questions category in class. So using child-friendly definitions, bringing it into language that they can understand and interpret, not only means they're going to understand the information, but then they're using that advanced language. They're using different types of language. So they're using nouns and verbs and adjectives and adverbs, and they are calling things ginormous and huge instead of just big. Your response, because teachers, you are the key #1 ingredient. Tiffany said on this, and I don't think it can be said enough. The relationships that children have with the trusted adults in their lives is the key overwhelming indicator of success. So being aware of your children, how you respond to them, how you effectively work with them as they're learning, and being able to help them go further, help them brainstorming, helping them understand that information. Key ingredient. We cannot do this work without you. So when I see these data, it just shows me how much emergent literacy and class come together. They are working hand in hand with the same best practices for kids to make rich classroom experiences. So if you want to learn more, we do have an emergent literacy micro-credential that we launched earlier this year. And if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now, when you finish it, you can earn $2,000. So we have different ways that you can get through that, and we can follow up with, have Miami send out information that you can follow up with to get enrolled. But you're completing 3 components. You're completing a Flamingo language course. Yeah, I know, $2,000, write it down. Say you want to go Google Flamingo Literacy Micro-Credentials. We'll get you hooked up. And if you've already know Flamingo, you've already been with us, you might have already taken the first component because it's one of our Flamingo Learning Literacy courses. Component 2 is going through those 4 pieces that I just went through with you of emergent literacy. And those are like a DCF course. You can watch the videos and click through. And then we even have a practicum in component 3 where you are using these strategies in the classroom. I love that. She works on that and she's loving the course. Yay. So we just wanted to put that out there. So if you want to know more, we have good follow-up. All right. I think I went a little over, so I'm super sorry, Joellen.
No, we're good. We have a few minutes. It's okay. Thank you, Jamie, for sharing all that information. I love reading the chat. And Eva, sí tenemos clase en español también. We also have classes in Spanish. I see that being asked. Not all of them are offered in Spanish yet, but I'm trying to get there and Jamie's trying to get there. We're working on it, getting materials in Spanish and translated. So we are working on that. So what we're going to do here, this, and as Jamie talked about different modalities, getting you to in the classroom to have different ways for your students to interact. And we feel the same way. What we're going to do, and I'm putting it into the chat. The information of where to sign up will be we can send it out, and Miami-Dade, the ELC will send it out for us as well. Or Jamie or myself will put our email addresses in the chat and can try to help and get you information. What I am putting into the chat now is a Padlet. This is going to be a way that we are going to brainstorm and use some of the ideas that Jamie just told us about. Our oral language, alphabet knowledge, print awareness, phonological awareness, and reading and writing. And we want you to think about how these elements of our Flamingo Early Learning, no, wrong product. Some of them are Flamingo Early Learning, but our micro literacy credentials, how they can help support you in those class domains. And we have it broken down to the dimensions of the instructional support. So if you hover your phone over this QR code, you'll get a Padlet. And I'm putting it as well in the chat. Jamie, could I share my screen for a second so I can show them the Padlet?
I have it pulled up if you just want me to pop
Oh, yep, perfect. Show them the Padlet. Thank you. So this is the Padlet. What you're going to do, Jamie and I in the resources, we created just an overview of the information. You'll see it's called the Emergent Literacy Instructional Support Brainstorm document. And that is just the information that Jamie went over. And we put it there. So while you're doing this quick brainstorm, we know that it's only a few minutes, but we love to send you prepared and see how the stuff that you are learning will work for you and that class domain specifically. So how this is going to work. You are going to go into the Padlet. And as you see, there is a little plus sign in that corner. Or you can go under each section. So what we want you to do is just oral language. You're looking at that first column. Which dimension would this element support? Well, I think oral language is definitely going to help me in quality of feedback. And that's all we want you to do is type in, oh, oral language could help in quality of feedback, or whatever you think it is. If it's in alphabet knowledge and print awareness, if you think that's going to really help with language modeling. These are just me pulling out these answers. You can add that in. Can we go to that slide, Jamie, where we have the QR code for the resources for anybody that wants to pull it up on their phone? So if you hover your phone over that, you'll have all the resources to help you think through this Padlet. It'll pop up for you, or it is in the resource section as well. So I'm going to give you a minute or two. We know that there's not a lot of time, but I'm going to set my timer here for 4 minutes and just give you that time to kind of go into that Padlet and start thinking. Our micro credential emergent literacy, how is that going to support you in class? So our oral language portion, how would that help you in the domain of instructional support? And this is the part, Jamie, where I miss them being able to unmute to see if they have any questions on how they would navigate this Padlet.
Well, I was going to say, first, if you are trying to find the resources and you say you can't find the resources tab, one, you can either scan that QR code that's on the screen right now, or if you look at your toolbar, you should be able to see the word resources. And if you can't see the word resources, then look all the way at the end where it has 3 little dots and it says more, and click the more button, and then you should see resources. And if you click resources, it's in there, or you can do the QR code. I think we're gonna have, and Joellen just put it in the chat. And I'm gonna repost the link to the Padlet itself, just in case. I know Joelle and I actually both posted it back to back at the same time. If you are wondering how to register for the Flamingo micro-credential, give me 1 second and I can pull that link up for you. You should not need to register for anything on Padlet. If you wanted to register for the micro-credential, you can do that. And there should be just something that says enrollment, and you would click that and it would take you to a form. But I see for reading and writing, if Joellen, you think I'm safe to go back to the Padlet?
I think you're safe to go back to the Padlet. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I see, oh, look, everybody's very into alphabet knowledge and print awareness. So we got invaluable resource. Yes, it is a good resource. Oral language and language modeling. I see concept development for phonological awareness and reading and writing.
I also see, Jamie, which if you're not really comfortable with Padlet or using this tool, that's okay. It was just us trying something out. But I see, because I'm looking on my phone at the same time, I see that some of you are liking other people's posts, which is great as well. That's fulfilling that we wanted to get you involved and just reading and hearing other people's ideas. And so that's fine. We don't want you to get intimidated if you can't use the Padlet. That's fine. It was just something for you to brainstorm and to think about how our microliteracy can support you in the class domain.
And also, if you are not comfortable putting on the Padlet, put it in the chat.
Absolutely. Put it in the chat. You can put, and it doesn't have to be, specific to anything in general. You can just something that you heard that will definitely be a support for you in that element.
All right, we're asking to share the QR code again, so I'm gonna put that in.
Yeah, I always like doing it on my phone. So this QR code is going to be for just the resources that we created, and those you can take with you and use. It can be a cheat sheet that is yours to keep. And the QR code to get to the Padlet is that one. That'll take you to the Padlet where you can add any thoughts you have, or just read to see what other people have thought about how our emergent literacy micro-credential kind of supports those dimensions of the instructional support domain.
And I'm going
coming in the chat.
At the end, Joellen and I will share our email addresses. So if you have something specific about signing up, about where you might be now in the course, we are going to encourage you to reach out and email us. I know for me and probably Joellen, just based on how crazy our days can be, you get a much faster response by reaching out by email. All right.
All right, there's still a lot of them are still in there populating that chat, which is, I love that too. So I am going to go to our closing moves because I think that it will require a little bit of talking through, because we're going to have to talk through it in the chat. So to close out today, we wanted to talk to you. We love talking to our participants, and we love putting you in groups with each other to discuss what you've heard and to really collaborate as professionals, because you are the professionals, you are the experts. I know at this Super Saturday, you have heard a lot of extremely qualified, extremely credentialed professionals speaking to you, but I guarantee that all of them know the secret, which is it's not us. We're really not the ones that are experts in this field. It is definitely you, the educator, who is there every day, in it every day, and just constantly adapting and changing to best serve your students. I know that all of us for UF are very aware of that. Tiffany, Jamie, and myself talk about that often, how we learn so much from our teachers, and they fuel the work that we do. So we are very grateful for you, all that you do and that you share with us to teach us and better our practices as well. So as we're checking out, we wanted it to be kind of low stress for you. We wanted to tie in the emojis because I saw somebody in our opening says that they were emoji illiterate, and I send wrong emojis all the time. Don't worry, I definitely get that from my nieces and nephews, and they're like, Dia, that's not what you're supposed to say. So we want to check out today by just you sharing an emoji. I went in and these are all available in your chat. So if you go into your chat and you click on the little smiley face, if you'll hover your arrow over it, you're going to have all those different emojis that come up. So we have 4 choices here for you. Are you feeling informed about emergent literacy and instructional support after our time together? Are you feeling confused? Are you feeling energized, or did it leave you thoughtful? Are you thinking about things? And I love, because that's what teachers do, they make everything better. I see some people adding in their own emojis, which is fine too. We just want to get an overall feel of how you're feeling after this super Saturday morning where you selflessly got up at before 8 a.m. to join us and spend your time with us. I see a lot of informed, energized, and we really appreciate you. And then we even have some with words, which is, I mean, taking it old school, that's fantastic. We love having all this feedback from you. And as we close out, I love it, more emojis, hearts, that's my favorite one. Here is Jamie and Mai's contact information. I am going to put it in the chat for you as well. So this is where you can contact us if you have any questions, if you need any more information about where you can sign up for our emergent literacy micro-credentials. I am putting mine and the beautiful Miss Harmon in the chat currently, so you can have that information. You also have access. We gave you all of our slides, the resource we created, and our agenda. So you will have access to everything you saw today, and you have our email addresses in there. And as we close, because we are always trying to, like I said, learn from you, grow, adapt and change anything that we are presenting and facilitating so it best serves the educator. We don't want to be up here just with our song and dance for no reason. We really do enjoy when we get feedback where you could have done this more, or I enjoyed this, or give me more information about. We love that feedback. So Jamie has created, did I click it? A survey. There we are. Jamie has created a survey for us that if you hover over that, you'll be able to be directed to a Google survey. And Jamie, do we have a link for that we can put in the chat just in case? And I think I can try from my phone.
No, I can pull that up.
You got it? Okay, perfect.
Yes, and I also to, if you would let me.
You want what?
I wanted to just add my thing.
Oh, you're going to absolutely add your thing. I just wanted to make sure that we gave them that link and that reflection. And then I thought of me not being able to do it with my phone, because that would happen with me. So how some people may need a link. And now I will mute so you can add and.
Okay. Yep. And I'm getting the link right now. So if you need the link, that's fine. But thank you guys so much for showing up today. We know how valuable your time is. So to give up a Saturday morning is amazing. So thank you guys so much. And I want you to do something for me. And that is, the next time somebody asks you what you do, you are not going to say that you're a teacher. You are going to say that you are a brain architect. because what you are doing is you are working with brains in the most incredible times of their lives and how much they are growing and learning. So take that credit. Thank you for everything that you do and for joining us this morning.